from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe. And ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. So yeah, somebody asked me in the comments recently, somebody, a big fan of the Jodie Whittaker era, like, the Jodie Whittaker's era is over. Why are you still obsessing about it? Really? It's like saying World War II is over. Why still worry about those naughty nationals? Why obsess about them? It's a little bit interesting. No, it's a little bit interesting to most people. It's a little bit interesting to most people who are Doctor Who fans. A little bit interesting to most people who are Doctor Who fans who said, oh, this is just insane. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. This is unprofessional, and it's the absolute opposite of everything that I always thought was Doctor Who, even though it's got Doctor Who written on it, right? That was the first thing that really brought it to my attention. But the second thing that brought it to my attention is whenever anybody said that, the crazy Jodie Whittaker fans who really couldn't defend the show in any way, shape, or form because it was diabolical. I mean, just absolutely diabolical. They just called you a fascist or a Nazi or whatever they wanted to call you, right? So yeah, that doesn't fade away that quick. I mean, it fades away in the public consciousness because, we scrub Jodie from reality as fast as humanly possible. They really, really want to get rid of Jodie, right? Get rid of the memory of Jodie. Quite understandable, right? It's not you go to Germany after World War II. Nobody was really, oh yeah, let's talk about the Third Reich. Oh, we like talking about no, right? I mean, I think even up until Schindler's List came out, what was that, the late 90s? Germans are a little bit touchy about talking about the Second World War. Quite understand it. So yeah, the crazed Jodie fans who are the most hateful people in the entire most hateful people I've ever come across. They said, oh, let's just forget about it. There's a thing going on now saying, oh, let's have a COVID amnesty. Do you remember that time where we took away all your civil rights and locked you down and essentially tortured you for about a year? Based on no science whatsoever, and kept telling you it was the science, right? Do you remember that? Let's have a COVID amnesty. I think, and that came out the same time. I'm not sure how much the story is developed. I'm recording this on Tuesday, November 1st, right? This strikes as probably one of the most important stories ever in America, where the Biden government openly colluded with big tech social media to the extent of they met with the CEOs once a month and they had government logins to be able to take out stories they thought were against the national interest, which, weirdly enough, were all stories that made Joe Biden look bad. And there's quite a few of those, right? So we have a lot of stuff going down. But the most fascinating thing is what people go, oh, why are you still talking about this? We're talking about it because you made our lives miserable for 5 bloody years because you didn't want to be wrong and because you wanted to believe in this a fictional worldview that just never ever existed, right? What's that fictional worldview? That finally oppressed people are overthrowing the evil white male patriarchy and everything's going to be super duper duper better. No, that never happened, I'm afraid. What was really happening was I think completely immoral global interests were feigning social conscience to manipulate people into giving up their civil rights so they can be more easily dominated, right, and manipulated. And I understand that sounds like a babbling conspiracy theory. It's 2022. It's November 2022. Nothing sounds like a conspiracy theory anymore, right? It's like you want to tell me that aliens are working in concert with Elvis and JFK to control the world. I'm like, whoa, that would have seemed strange a few months ago, but now I can believe pretty much anything, right? I can, or disbelieve pretty much everything. That's basically where we are. Anyway, with that global introduction there, let's talk about Doctor Who, right? So let's talk about Doctor Who. The Doctor Who era, Jodie Whittaker era just ended. Didn't go well. Right? And again, For me, it was the best episode they ever did. There was actually bits in it that I thought were supremely watchable. I liked the Session One's plan as the Master. That seemed like a thing the Master would do. I liked his bonkers Boney M. Rah-Rah Rasputin dance. I thought that was cool, right? I liked the Sylvester McCoy, Sophie Aldred, and Janet Fielding, and Peter Davison. I liked all the Doctor cameos. I like pretty much most things. When I say like, didn't want to like gouge my eyes out in disgust. It's like the whole what's the word, scale on like and dislike has changed quite a lot. Anything without Jodie Whittaker and Mandrick Gill was somewhat watchable. Don't try and understand the plot, because that's the video that's the next video I'm recording, by the way. The What Culture it tries to understand the plot of Doctor Who: Power of the Doctor. And look, there is a plot there, okay? I'll say it out really, really quickly, okay? I'll say out the cliff notes of it really quickly. The Master has a plan to force the Doctor to regenerate into himself using Time Lord technology he salvaged from Gallifrey after he destroyed it. Somehow he survived with the Cybermen, who became the Cybermen Time Lord, the Cyber Lords or Cyber Masters or whatever they're bloody called, right? And he enacted a plan using with them and the Daleks. Oh, how this happened, because they are all destroyed. No, that doesn't matter. Them, the Daleks, so the Master of the Daleks and Cybermen. This starts off with a pastiche of the a good Matt Smith episode with a big train heist. The Cybermen are attacking the train to get some weird cargo, which turns out to be a little black girl. Doctor Who, sort of, Jodie Whittaker, comes in to try and save it, nearly kills Dan, and the Cybermen get away with the little black girl. It turns out to be a giant, glowy, fluffy thing that's going to power the Master's plan to turn the Doctor into the Master. I think back in 1816 when he's impersonating Rasputin, or he is Rasputin, that was never made clear, right? So that and then the elements of the Doctor inside her head, come together to help them thwart the Master's plan. Unfortunately, she gets killed by the giant glowy thing, and then later regenerates after sitting on top of the TARDIS with Yaz and having no timeless child or Thasmid, right? That's essentially the plot, right? That's essentially the plot of it, which I'm cutting out some details, and you're welcome, but that's essentially the plot. Don't try and understand the plot. The plot is insane, right? Plot insane. But the incredible thing is, this is the episode they went, oh, this is the worst ever! No! It's the worst ever, and they're not happy. The tragedy of Chris Chibnall, right? He finally writes something that doesn't make me want to vomit in my own mouth, and everybody says it's the worst thing ever. I'm sorry, Chris. Listen, I think, the die is cast. What can I tell you? From what I understand, inside the industry, it's just they know they're all lying when they said it was successful. They know they're all lying, and they just assume everybody knows that they're lying. And everybody knows how much Christian damage he's done. He's having to carry the can for it, which we're about to see. Because you can't blame Jodie Whittaker, even though, let's face it, that was a stunningly bad performance. Wasn't it? Just like breathtaking and stunningly bad. Fine. Before we get into this, like, share, subscribe, all those things are very, very good. Sign up my Substack, my email newsletter. It's in the video notes. This month, what we're giving away are my... I give away a bunch of stuff in the free one. Like, I always put in old articles from Doctor Who magazine and fun little stuff like that. Last month, on the paid one, $5 a month, you got this graphic novel. If you sign up, I'll give it to you anyway. This month, you're going to be getting chapters from my new book, Eki Thump, the guide to the Jodie Whittaker era. Lest we forget, right? Lest we forget the horror that was done to us. Right? I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I think my attitude to all this is somewhat like the Israeli government's attitude to Nazi hunting. It's like, no, never forget, right? Again, COVID amnesty, piss off. Okay, that amazes me when people screw up more than you could possibly imagine. They then go, amnesty, yeah, let's just forget about it. But when you do anything that they don't like, if you're on the wrong tribe, then it's the worst thing in the world. Oh man, so much hypocrisy in the world. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, comment. Substack is in my is in the video notes. Paid Substack's also there. If you can send me a digital copy or two, I will not turn it down, mate. I will not turn it down. Penny for the guy. Oh, it's coming up to Guy Fawkes night. I just realised. This is probably going to go out before Guy Fawkes. When is Guy Fawkes night? So it's Tuesday the 1st, the 5th of November. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday's Guy Fawkes night. Oh, I better do some kind of video commemorating that somehow or other. Okay, I have no idea how. Fine, let's look at this article, shall we? It's let's start over here. So the thing that was the best about Power of the Doctor, it's an awful title, is one of the things I hated the most, right? So Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred, they were not happy with that. Let's see if we can make that a little bit bigger. Oh, make it bigger, darling. Oh, you want it. Everything's a double entendre, right? Honestly, my wife's away right now, and it's just me and my daughter living in the house. My daughter is the most straight one amongst us, in the Lebetkin household, and so I do delight in saying wildly inappropriate things to. It's like, it's like what? Because it's funny. So that's really an overriding thing that goes through my entire life, which isn't the best. If I find it funny, my desire to do it is somewhat strong, right? Is somewhat strong. The Power of the Doctor misunderstands the Seventh Doctor and Ace. Actually, it didn't. I was quite impressed. It really didn't. They had this weird fractious relationship, and they in the extended media and Big Finish and the novels, they were antagonistic as Ace got older. And the nice thing about it was they basically, once Ace was older, he was like, oh, I understand you weren't trying to be mean to me, right? You're actually trying to help me and make me grow. It was a lovely little friction they came to, right? I really, really like that. And I really like the scene with Janet Fielding and Peter Davison. Just really fantastic. So, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, you weirdos. It doesn't misunderstand it. Amazingly, right? And here I am defending Chris Chibnall. I feel with the fabric of the universe tearing. The Seventh Doctor and Ace have a heart-to-heart in Doctor Who's The Power of the Doctor, but the scene doesn't do justice to the relationship. I disagree completely, right? And again, why am I defending Chris bloody Chibnall? I mean, how did that happen? I don't know. I must be a contrarian, right? If they say up, I have to say down, right? That could be true. That could indeed be true. The BBC Centenary special of Doctor Who Paradolic tries to create closure for the Seventh Doctor and Ace, but ultimately misunderstands the relationship. Ace joins the Doctor in season 24, episode 4, Dragonfire. Ace! And continues to travel with him through the rest of the show's original run. Man, the difference between Dragonfire and Remembrance of the Daleks, right? Boy, did Andrew Cartmel work out what he's doing by that point, and Sylvester McCoy, they really nailed it, right? They really, really nailed it for those 2 seasons. I think one of the best 2 seasons, right? Seasons 25 and 26, really some of the best 2 seasons. I put up there with season 14. I love season 14. The 2 never had an on-screen goodbye. Well, they did write that final speech on a packet of a napkin or a packet of cigarettes or something. Andrew, out there's all the, come on, Ace, there's work to be done, right? That's all, that actually gave closure. And then, we had the Virgin New Adventures, which I think worked, right, as closure for the character. And also Ace had a very strange post Doctor Who life, right? She had many different places she ended up. But the 2 never on screen. Ace doesn't appear in the 96 Doctor Who movie in which the 7th Doctor regenerates, nor in the 2005 Doctor Who revival. Why would she appear in the revival? McCoy didn't appear in that either. Ace returns to the screens in The Power of the Doctor, which alludes to a difficult parting between her and the 7th Doctor. though Doctor Who novel at Charles End contradicts the power of the Doctor. Wait a minute, Soph, darling, you wrote that, didn't you? And they ask you what happened to. Okay, what? I mean, my thought is this, right? And we got to wait a year to find out. But my thought is this. By the way, we're getting, I think, four Doctor Who specials minimally in 2023. We're getting the 3 in November, the 10th anniversary ones. And, right, they said in the festive season of 2023, Ncuti Gatwa gets his first episode. So I think we're going to get a Christmas Day Ncuti, right? Only my mind can make that rude, and it was quite rude. Where are we up to? Though Doctor Who novel at Childhood End contradicts the power of the Doctor in some ways, it does describe a possible separation between the Ace and the Doctor. According to the novel, the Seventh Doctor brought Ace home to the home of Astingir, where she touched a quantum anvil, which gave her a look into several of her possible futures. Oh, that's clever. I never read it because I'm not really into Jodie stuff. After accidentally killing a group of Anstingir and learning the Doctor had purposely brought her there to touch the animal, Ace left the Doctor traumatized by the entire experience. The story demonstrates how manipulative the Doctor was with Ace under the guise of teaching her. I mean, that's hardly, a revelation, right? I mean, have you seen what's it called? Not Dragonfire. Ghostlight. I mean, he's being a real dick. And Fenric, Curse of Fenric. Right, and I kind of just put that down to not being human, right? They're like trying to look after a human while not understanding what a human is, which I did indeed quite like. The story demonstrates how manipulative the Doctor was as Ace undergoes the teaching her. The Paradoxer overlooks this, with Ace apologising to the AI version for telling him she did not understand that she didn't understand the burden he carried. How's that contradict it? She's moved on from that, right? She's reached some kind of resolution. He replies, all children leave home sooner or later, but the Seventh Doctor wasn't a father figure to Ace. He was a Machiavellian mastermind. No! I mean, he was a father figure who was a Machiavellian mastermind, right? Who was preparing Ace to, access her true greatness, right? Yes, it was a Machiavellian mastermind, but he was doing it out of a love for Ace, out of love and responsibility for Ace. And also, I think he cared, I think, when he met Ace, I understand, I'm reading stuff into essentially a bit of a crappy children's show from the early 80s, which season 24 was. I mean, again, I love season 24. Don't get me wrong, I really, really love it, but I'm reading a lot into it. But I think the character of the Doctor was warmed instantly to Ace. I think her revolutionary spirit, like a counter-cultural, kind of look. I'm learning out there. We are in the season right now of these little flies flying around here in Israel. They're all going to die out pretty soon. I really have no idea where they're from, but I remember they kind of come around every year. You got to keep every window and door closed, which we don't. So I always, if you saw one flying on just now, that's what it was. But anyway, I digress. I think he liked her revolutionary spirit, right? I liked her, and I think he sparked a love for the character, and he wanted her to actualize herself, right? Which really meant breaking some eggs, for want of a better word. The power of the Doctor Brusher of the Seventh Doctor's true nature. No, I don't think you understand the Seventh Doctor's true nature, right? And this is somebody who, me here, I've seen all the episodes, I've read every Seventh Doctor comics throughout, all the Doctor Who magazine comic strips. I never really got into them with the title ones. I've listened to every Seventh Doctor audio. I've read all the Virgin New Adventures. I think I know a bit about this character, right? I think I know a bit about his true nature. And his true nature isn't an evil dick as you are intimating it, right? The most egregious example of Ace's of the Seventh Doctor's ruthless manipulation of Ace comes in season 26, episode 3 of The Curse of Fenric, in which the ancient evil Fenric uses as wolves, descended from Vikings, he can possess and control to try and poison the human race and get revenge on the Doctor for imprisoning him. He reveals at the end of the climax that Ace is one of his wolves, and you know what? I don't. Okay, fine. I know where you're going with this, and yes and no, right? I think the Seventh Doctor, does it? All the Doctors get little soldiers, get warriors to work for them, but I don't think it's in the same way. I don't think it's being. I think he's doing that to help them actualize their ultimate self, their best self, right? I think, the Doctor does create warriors. Captain Jack, Rose, he creates warriors, but again, I think it's in an effort to pull out their true inner greatness. So that's exactly what I just said. Now I'm just repeating myself like an insane person. What else is new? Can you tell the Rabbi's gone insane? No, it's still the same as normal. Aha. And it was basically he was talking down Fenric, right? That was a real trait of the Seventh Doctor, talking down the villains. We first saw that in Remembrance of the Daleks. episode 4, where there's one black Dalek left, and he basically talks it to death, and it's brilliant, right? It does that a lot. Happiness Patrol, the two snipers. Yeah, that's what that Doctor does, right? But I don't think he was doing that to Ace. Because the Seventh Doctor says something doesn't actually mean it's true. It means the Seventh Doctor wants something to happen from him saying that. More than anything else. And he had, in fact, orchestrated Ace's first meeting with the Doctor. Fenric orchestrated Ace's first meeting with the Doctor. Fenric orders a being called the Ancient One to kill Ace, but she uses a psychic field generated by a trust in the Doctor to stop him. Fenric decides to kill Ace himself, but says he'll spare her if the Doctor kneels. Yeah, great scene, right? The Doctor responds by saying, "Kill her." Yeah. It was a fake, right? They said it, but it's next bloody scene. That's not what oh God, so annoying. At this point, the Doctor reveals he knew about Ace the entire time, said, "I knew she carried the evil inside." Yeah, he was winding up Fenric, you moron. That was very, very clear from anybody who watched it, which I don't think you have. You think I'd have chosen a social misfit if I hadn't known? She's an emotional cripple. I wouldn't waste my time on her unless I had to use her somehow. Yes, he was trying to break her faith in him to get somebody would end up being killed by the Ancient One. This order 3 is a trick by the Doctor breaks Ace's faith in him, releasing the Ancient One, who then turns on Fenric himself. And a really nice little extra, by the way, in that scene, in that story, is when the Hemivores pile into the church with Nicholas Parson, right? The Doctor's seen muttering something to ward them off, right, to make the sound. You have faith in. So you had the communist guy, the Russian guy, hold up his little communist badge, and he had total faith in the revolution. So what does the Doctor have complete faith in? You look at his lips, right? He was saying the names of all his companions. This completely contradicts this, right? But and you can see him say Susan, Barbara. You can see him say it. It's great, right? Although the trick ultimately saves Ace, the Doctor, and the rest of the world, it's unnecessarily cruel. No, I think it's the minimum cruel. It takes the entire story of Doctor and Ace. Did it hurt your little feels? Did it? That's what's wrong with it. Since he was keeping secrets from her the entire time, and maybe only travelled there because he knew about it. You are a moron. If you think that the only reason is he travelled were because of Fenric's involvement. The reconciliation power of the Doctor takes the Seventh Doctor's side, implying the horrible treatment of Ace was okay because he was trying to make her a better person, and that her anger for him was the form of a rebellion. But it's the Doctor who should be apologising to Ace, not the other. Oh, God. This is so indicative of how weak this generation is. You should apologise to me, right? Shannon Michelson, whoever Shannon Michelson is. I think you got a little feel. Your little feel feels hurt, right? Besides, the actual doctor doesn't have this conversation. It's the AI. Okay, I understand. Now you're just picking at Chris Chibnall's terrible writing because there's what to pick there, right? So yeah, the bit that was probably the best bit, right? I preferred the Tegan Fifth Doctor speech. But up there, one of the best bits. They hated. Why? Because they don't understand Doctor Who. They've never understood Doctor Who. They don't particularly like Doctor Who. They just like it was the what it meant to have a female Doctor Who, right? That's all they were ever interested in, right? And not much more beside, right? Yeah, I think this article is very, very, very telling, but not quite as telling. As this one over here. The Power of the Doctor shows the Chibnall's era's biggest flaw. Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall, Mandip Gill. I think we're seeing the three biggest flaws, right? Actually, the four biggest flaws. We've got Jodie Whittaker, Chris Chibnall, Mandip Gill on screen with that terrible, terrible TARDIS set in the background. Four of its biggest flaws. Yes, okay. Chibnall's era of Doctor Who was packed with big ideas, but neglecting the most important part of Doctor Who, it failed the Doctor and the viewers. Well, I don't think you really need to say anything after failed. It failed. Right? It failed. Because it failed, right? Because it failed. The newly released blah 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 Power of the Doctor, Chibnall failed the 13th Doctor and a companion, blimey. Doctor Who viewers, he failed everyone. It's open season on Chibnall, right? It's totally open season on Chibnall. The long-running show about an alien called the Doctor, blah, 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 blah. The beginning and the end of the Chibnall era, Chris Chibnall time as Doctor Who showrunner coincided with the beginning and end of the 13th Doctor. Yes, that wasn't a coincidence, right? It was Chris Chibnall that brought her in, right? It's, because... Again, I've met you before and you've got a vagina. Would you like to be Doctor Who? Oh, well, there you go. Oh, well, the first one he's asked that to said no. Said, are you crazy? No, I won't be Doctor Who. It said, what's her name? The Crown, whatever her name is. Peep Show. I can't remember her name. Well, Chibnall's era brought a lot of good to the show. No, it didn't bring a lot of good to the show. It brought a lot of bad to the show. That wasn't good. It's different. Good and bad are different things. Yeah, this is confusing for somebody with no moral standards whatsoever. Most notably, more diverse characters. Actors and stories. Much of the era was poorly received. Yeah, because when you focus on identity of a character rather than the character of the character, that's where that character's story is finished, right? The story's character ends, right? Ends forever when you just focus on changing its identity to something more fashionable. Have a look at they got a Superman book where Superman's gay in it, and he's not just gay. He's a mincing super twink gay, right? He is. I would have thought if Superman's gay, he's going to be a top. No, Superman is now a power bottom. If you don't know what that means, don't look it up. Okay, don't save yourself. You don't want to know, right? But essentially, nothing happens, right? It's very boring. All he does is stand around being gay. That's where the character stops, right? Same thing with the 13th Doctor Who. You know, the only idea he had was having a female Doctor, which isn't particularly good and original idea, and that's where the idea stopped, right? You couldn't use that as a springboard if you're genuinely looking at the idea. No, you wanted to stop Doctor Who being white and male, right? Again, this is sanity. There's a white male patriarchy that's made the world a worse place. Excuse me, there's no white male patriarchy, but generally speaking, the world's a much better place because of white males. And I hate to be the one to give you this historical lesson. Am I saying that white males are better than anybody else? No. I'm saying many of the luxuries that we live in today and the freedom of living today are purely because of white men, right? I'm not the one looking at skin colors. That's these weirdos over there. So the Parrot Doctor, both Chibnall and the 13th Doctor's final episode, there was a scene in which the Doctor is racing around the TARDIS while Yaz tries to stop her long enough to get an explanation of what's happening. Don't mean bother. Doctor says, "Oh, I give up. Sorry, no time." To which the companion says, "Oh, make time, like we can make love." She didn't say that in the show, but in my headcanon, that's what happened. In my headcanon, this isn't real. In my headcanon, we have to see what the story is with the David Tennant Doctor. The David Tennant 2. Doctor 14. I think the entire Whittaker era was a psychic projection sent by, assuming it's the Celestial Toymaker, to weaken the Doctor to a state where he could impose a regeneration on top of him. So none of that really happened. This is just him. This is just the end of the Whittaker regeneration. End of the Capaldi regeneration. The entire Whittaker era happened within the Capaldi regeneration. To which the time said, "This is the only one among many references in the episodes of 13th Doctor's tendency to never explain things to her companion. She can't explain. She's an idiot. She doesn't know what's going on. Doctor, could you explain adding? Oh, I give up. No, that makes me feel socially conscious. But I'm the best adder ever. Oh, I'm such a good adder. People come to me for adding. You're not, darling. You're not very good, right?" This scene and the whole episode shows just why Christian era of Doctor Who was not well received. Well, it shows it tacitly by not showing the things, right? They minimized Jodie Whittaker and Mandit Kill. Yes, that's the reason the era wasn't received well. They got rid of the Timeless Child. Yes, that's the reason the era wasn't received well. And they didn't touch on Tasman apart from this really creepy image of Yaz cradling the Doctor in her arms like you cradle a baby, right? That is not romantic love. If you feel that is romantic love, you need to get to a psychologist. That's not normal, right? That is not normal. And honestly, I can see why pedophilia is becoming so normalized and fashionable, right? If that depiction of love is love, then yeah, okay. So it's very much a scooping up and caring for being sexualized, right? Yeah, okay. I think that's probably one of the great malaises of the world. In 2022. Chibnall never made time for the Doctor's relationship with the companions, but he made relationships, but he never made time for the relationship. He just had put, again, it's all about labeling. This entire era is just about labeling. Instead of prioritizing big ideas and action, which weakens the show's strong foundation and alienated its viewers. Honestly, it wasn't couldn't focus on relationship. They couldn't focus on character. And if you can't write character, you can't write relationships, right? It's you can't do one without the other, right? In my opinion, anyway. I mean, I just don't think you can. It's the same thing. I don't think you can write stories of heroism from a place of narcissism, right? I just don't see how that's possible. Which explains why the MCU is such a disaster. Right, and Star Trek. It's also Discovery is such a disaster. Which weakened the show's foundation. Fine. Doctor Who failed the 13th Doctor and her companions. Well, in all fairness, the 13th Doctor also failed the audience as well and her companions. From Doctor Who's very beginning, the relationship between the Doctor and the Doctor's companions has been at the very heart of the show. Seasons and eras of Doctor Who. Season eras of Doctor Who, as much as they're categorized by showrunner, are identified largely by the Doctor and which companion they feature. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, the second Doctor was very much defined by his relationship with Jamie. That long-running bromance, right? Sarah Jane Smith somewhat defined the Fourth Doctor, as did Leela after, as did Romana, right? But Sarah Jane Smith, because it was the first one, really kind of just defined the character. And because she had a character. Jo Grant had a character. Liz Shaw had a character. Having characters makes it easier to have characteristics. Right? his name is, are identified largely by the Doctor. The recurring monsters and complex lore are, of course, elements of the show. But for much of Doctor's adventures are a vehicle through which to tell stories of adventures who are ultimately more important. Yeah, again, they return Doctor Who to being an aimless warrior in time, aimless wanderer, not warrior, an aimless wanderer in time and space, just happening on things. It'll make it much better. Last night, it was Halloween last night, so I watched Midnight, the David Tennant episode, because I think that's a great Halloween-y, scary episode to watch. And that's exactly what it was, right? It was the Doctor just travelling around wanting to see things, right? And happening upon scary stories. It was fantastic, right? That was actually a really, really good story. I forgot how good it was. I really genuinely enjoyed that. I'm thinking of starting a TikTok channel, right? And doing like these short reviews of just stuff like Doctor Who stories and other things, of specific stories and episodes, right? Like a general guide to everything that's awesome. That seems to be the sort of thing people do on TikTok, right? That seems to be the way it goes. I guess TikTok is such a growing thing. Seems bad not to be on it, right? But I kind of like you got to do the shorter videos. But oh god, I can't stand TikTok. I'll be honest with you. Weirdest thing in the world is my how old is she? I don't want to get the age wrong because that'd be terrible. My stepfather-in-law passed away a couple of months ago. So my mother-in-law lives in Israel, is spending a lot more time with us. Right, and one thing came out is that she doesn't do Facebook, doesn't do Twitter, doesn't do Instagram, does TikTok. She does. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know. And I think TikTok's so mainstream now. It's kind of weird. I really should be on it. Ugh, nothing to do. Maybe I'll start today. Who knows? Who knows what dares to dream? Where are we up to? Chibnall had many big plans for Doctor Who and a lot of brilliant ideas. Not really. He had a lot of ideas. Some of them weren't bad. But by prioritizing those big ideas, he cheapened the development of the 13th Doctor and the Companions. Again, he can't write character, right? Which is why he writes identity politics, right? All he wrote about the characters is, I got a black one, I got a brown one, and I got an old white one, right? I got those three. That's the characters. And just because Bradley Walsh is charming, he was able to imbue Graham with some character, right? And I think that's what happened with the scenes with Ace and the Seventh Doctor and Tegan and the Fifth Doctor. They imbued these empty scripts with some character, which a good actor can do. And Janet Fielding apparently. He cheapened the development of the 13th Doctor Companions, both as individuals and as a unit. So while the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith, and his original companions, Amy and Rory, look, there's still that companionship really defined the 11th Doctor, right? We're given time to truly become a family over the course of their seasons. The 13th Doctor and the companions were just called fam without being given screen time to actually grow into one. That's exactly Chris Chibnall's mistake, right? That's exactly one of his big failings. He just tells us that Yaz is the greatest ever. Yaz is the bestest ever. Have we ever seen her be the best ever? No. We just see her being normal, right? And then all of a sudden Gray's, Yaz, you're such a stunning and brave young lady. Oh, so brave, so stunning. And then next thing we know, she was in charge when the Doctors were. I don't understand, right? We weren't shown any development. Again, you can't have development when you have a set of characteristics, a set of like physical characteristics as opposed to character, which is exactly what we got with Yaz. And then when they try to put some characteristics into her, like some mental health strugglings because she was bullied for being Muslim in Yorkshire. Really? Okay. When you make a Jewish character, right, and after he finishes running away from Jeremy Corbyn and the entire entertainment industry's darlings of politics, right, then have him run up to Yorkshire. Have a see what a warm welcome he gets flying an Israeli flag. Yeah, not so much, mate, not so much. Fine. By neglecting the development of the relationship, the development of the characters as individuals was also neglected. I'll say the other way around. Development of characters as individuals, they also neglect relationships, resulting in a Doctor who doesn't learn from her companions, despite being told by her companions to make time, and despite listening at the moment and making the time to include her companions. Later on in The Power of the Doctor, the 13th Doctor faces a TARDIS full of companions from multiple eras, all clamouring for explanations of what's going on. And the 13th Doctor says, "No, sorry, no time now, I've got to run around." Yes, because if you stop and explain it, you can show how ridiculously stupid it is. Chris Chibnall put out a video trying to explain Doctor Who Flux, missed out half the plot points, and it was 15 minutes long after Flux finished, right? That's not a good sign. It's not a good sign when you've got to put out videos explaining what you've just done. I mean, it's okay if you're doing some weird, artsy, Kierkegaard revival, but Doctor fucking Who, no, we should be able to follow that relatively easily, all right? If it gets more complicated than Ghostlight, yeah, might have screwed up. The 13th Doctor... sorry, Lord, time without without the space to fully explore the connection between the Doctor and the companions. Of the Chibnall era were left underdeveloped, and the Doctor was left unchanged. Yep, she was as useless coming in as she was going out. But again, it's very, very, very superficial growth, right? She's decided she's fallen in love with the Az, but she can't touch her because she doesn't want to be with somebody because she's too scared. Again, not overly heroic, but what can you expect? The Doctor and companion relationship has been at the heart of Doctor Who for a good reason. The same reason that despite the Doctor travelling all across the universe, the companions always come from the same time and place as the majority of, not always, mostly, of the viewers. I mean, even Jamie, who was like from Culloden, 18th century Culloden, basically morphed into like a mop-top beetle, along with Patrick Troughton, also was a mop-top beetle, right? Pretty darn quick, right? The show's viewers experience the adventure of the Doctor through the eyes of the companion, who is in a lot of ways just like them. Yes, that's the basic relationship. The companions are the companions and the very real bond that they form with the Doctor. Make the monster's lore and action accessible to the viewers. Yes! You mean you can't follow a story if you don't have actual characters? Again, where were you for the last 5 years? No, you were saying it was the greatest thing ever. Right? The Doctor's relationship with the companions is also what helps humanize the alien Doctor. So, yes! And on a character level as well. I think he chooses to travel with humans to make himself grow. Right? Because the 13th Doctor had no time to truly bring her companions along, the show excluded its viewers from the Doctor's world too. Yeah, I mean, actively as a plot point, right? It actually did that. In a behind-the-scenes video about the making of The Power of the Doctor, Chibnall describes it as a big, action-packed, multi-monster adventure. The special and much of Chris Chibnall's Doctor Who is purely packed with action and monsters, which is one of the most critical elements of Doctor Who. Which is why the most crucial elements in Doctor Who is missing. Well, listen, all that was missing from his first season. He got his ass handed to him then, right? So that's why he started packing them into his second season. But again, without character, without plotting, without being able to write, right, to be able to do the job, it's all for nothing. But so eventually, that's just what he had to get people in. Spectacle. That's what Flux was. It was spectacle. Same with these specials. Same with The Power of the Doctor, right? Doctor Who is best when it's a relationship between the Doctor and their companion. I listened to Rusty Davis, right? When he first started in 2005, actually 2003, I think it was. He described Doctor Who. It said it was just about these two friends that connect and they have fun in time and space, right? Doctor and Rose, Doctor and the companion. Yes, right? By not prioritizing the Doctor's relationship with the companions, the Chibnall era failed the Doctor and its companions and Doctor Who viewers. Yeah, absolutely. But how did it alienate, push away its own viewers? This seems to be the same complaint over again. okay, you push away its viewers by not being able to write. Okay, fine, that's fair enough. But you also push away the viewers by having anybody criticize it, saying that they were an evil racist. That didn't endear anyone, really. I mean, it made people feel good about themselves on tribal lines, but that's about it, right? It didn't really work out, in anyone's favor. And honestly, there's only so long you can suppress thought and speech, right? Unless you have complete totalitarian suppression. Unless you live in China, there's only so long you can control the national thought, and that time's over. I think that's what we're seeing a lot throughout the world right now, right? Again, this huge story that Facebook, that we all knew about, that Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these places had the FBI embedded in them to spike stories that they didn't want to be in the national or international consciousness, right? It's there's only so long you can have so much totalitarian control, and that time's over. Thank the good Lord, that time is over, and I'm still looking forward to the future, right? Until I see reason to, until I watch things based on their own merit, and I think the Russell T Davies new Doctor Who will probably be good. It might not be what I like. It might be what I call woke. Yeah, it might be platforming of ideas. I don't think so. Right? But I think it's going to be popular, and I also hope it's going to be good. If anything, if nothing else, it's not Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who, right? It's not Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who, which I think we can all agree, and also as a fan, I think we're all united at this point in saying, that was awful. That was absolutely awful. My name is Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.